Are you struggling with your Common App essay? Are you looking for some inspiration? Have you been looking for some real-life examples of Common App essays written by normal people? Well, you're in luck today. Hi guys, so today I'm going to be reading you guys my Common App essay and giving you some tips that kind of help me in the process of me writing my own Common App essay. I applied to the University of Pennsylvania last November for early decision and I got in December, so I was really lucky. Everyone was surprised that I got in because I by no means was one of those really special applicants that had a lot going for them. I mean, my stats are pretty good. I had good grades and I had good test scores, but in terms of like extracurriculars, I don't think anything in my application particularly would have stood out to my app readers. Yeah, might as well just get into it. So when it comes to the prompt I chose for the Common App essay, I chose the last one, I think, and it was the one where it was share an essay on any topic of your choice. It can be one you've already written, one that responds to a different prompt, or one of your own design. Okay. Step 1, sprawl out all pieces and flip color side up. Step 2, separate flat-sided pieces and establish a border. Step 3, organize remaining pieces into corresponding colors and patterns. Step 4, scan all pieces carefully and begin completing, starting from the border in. After weeks of begging, my parents gifted me a 1,000-piece puzzle of Monet's Terrace at the Seaside the summer before high school. I jumped in headfirst and sprawled out all the colorful quarter-sized cardboard cutouts onto my desk and went to work. After my excited approach, however, I soon discovered that it was near impossible to find the fitting piece among the sea that laid in front of me. After a few hours, the different colors warped into one homogeneous blob. I took a nap. This pattern continued for weeks before I was finally able to admire the stunning French classic that I had recreated. I now like to consider myself a puzzle enthusiast, perhaps a connoisseur, carefully cultivating my personal methods over the dozens of puzzles I've tackled. There is something profound about the seemingly unassuming activity. Even after 5,128 pieces, all with their personal grooves and edges, nestling one seamlessly among the others is preceded by overwhelming anticipation and a smile of satisfaction afterwards. But above all, a sense of calm prevails. Puzzle, my attempt to put together my pieces was not a glorious expedition to uncover the depths of my identity. In fact, up until middle school, the bulk of my day was comprised of arguing about the best brand of cereal with my friends, bracket, Cinnamon Toast Crunch is unarguably the winner, and my surprising captivation with PBS playings of Cooking with Lydia. Although this period might seem full of impractical interests, it was a crucial time in my life when I grabbed onto whatever I could get my hands on, experiencing hundreds of brief moments where I found joy in different endeavors. Whether this fascination lasted a second or a year, it didn't matter, as only a moment was needed for me to acknowledge its existence. Since then, the pieces I uncovered years ago have been slowly finding its place. Pieces that from a first glance seem completely unrelated, intertwined with each other, creating its own personal harmony, perfect within its own world. My middle school days of watching Italian cooking shows transformed into a love for baking treats ranging from refreshing mixed berry pies with lemon zest to decadent pain au chocolat. The sight of yeast breathing air into flour and feeling the stubbornness of the dough as I furiously knead into it never fails to excite me. It is always a challenge, beckoning me to create. The childhood bickering eventually led to hundreds of hours spent in the computer lab researching current events, ranging from the war in Yemen to the US pharmaceutical sector, in order to fly across the nation debating like-minded people. Watching the timer tick down from 2 minutes as I convey hundreds of articles worth of information in my speech is exhilarating, as for those short minutes, I can see my words slowly sway the judge's mind, making their vote for my team just a little bit closer. I will never be able to complete the jigsaw puzzle that is my life, nor do I want to. Contrary to belief, the most rewarding part of solving a puzzle is never the last piece. With the placement of the 1,000th cardboard piece, the wonder of the activity itself dissipates into nothingness, rendering what was an enigma of infinite possibilities into a lifeless image. Curiosity is the undeniable charm of a puzzle, and I do not intend to lose mine. Constantly sitting at the edge of my seat, I put together my pieces, searching for the next bout of anticipation, the next irresistible grin. So, that was my essay. So yeah, the essay was a little bit cheesy, a little bit cringy at times, but I feel like that's not necessarily a bad thing, because the reason why people call certain things cheesy or cringy is because it is to a certain extent relatable, and almost to the point where it's over relatable. Regarding my process of writing my Common App essay, I started writing my essay the July before senior year, so it was really late compared to a lot of other people. I do kind of wish, looking back at it, I always started off earlier. The only reason I even started as early as July was because my parents forced me to. I started off by making a list of all the things that I really like to do. If I had all the time in the world, what would I want to spend my time doing? And two of those things on that list ended up being completing puzzles and baking. So those are two things that I was really passionate about, and I thought I would add something a little academic by adding debate, but that wasn't even a large part of the essay. Okay, now I'll share you my tips and the process I kind of went through and kind of writing this essay. Overall, this took me about 3 months total, but I started writing it the July before senior year. I worked on it for about a week, and then I totally forgot about it until like a month later, and then I kind of worked on it for a few days then. When I went back to school in September and October, I went to a few of my teachers to ask for their advice, and I asked some of my friends for advice on the essay as well. Overall, like actual work time, it was probably not more than 2 weeks, but it was just spread out over a long period of time. I wrote some tips, so I don't know if it'll help you at all, but I don't know, maybe it will. I hope it would. By the way, all these tips are my opinions. They might not be helpful at all, but this is what helped me when I was writing my essay, so you know, take everything with a grain of salt. The first tip that I have is to write a lot of drafts on a lot of topics. When I first made the list that I told about, kind of my passions and what I really like to do in my free time, you know, cooking and completing puzzles was only 2 out of like a list of 10 things that I came up with. So when I first tried to write this rough draft, I wrote multiple rough drafts on about like I think 7 of the topics, and I kind of found when I was typing these up that some topics were a lot easier to write about than others. That kind of gave me a good idea of what I should write about and what I shouldn't write about. I don't think writing an essay which you're trying to present yourself should be too hard. To a certain extent, it is going to be hard, especially for people like me who didn't find English or like writing essays to come easily to them. Even though writing about anything was hard, some things were harder than others. The second tip I wrote down was make it personal. Your essay shouldn't sound like it could be representing anyone else in your life or anyone else you know or any like generic person that you'd be able to think of. I think this is one of the most important things that you have to keep in mind when you are writing your Common App essay, because if it's not personal, it totally defeats the whole purpose, which was to kind of show who you are to the college. I think you should kind of have a goal in mind on what part of yourself you want to express and want to show to these application readers. I don't think you should try to express everything about yourself, but I think you should hone in on some few key things that you think really make up who you are and your identity. Also keep in mind, I don't think you have to write about, you know, the biggest time commitments in your life, the biggest life-changing events in your life, or anything that big. As long as you make it personal, I think you can write about anything in your life. It can be the most minute, small thing in your life. It can be about, I don't know, like pulling weeds in your garden. And the third tip I have on my list is to show passion in your essays. It's kind of like a show, not tell kind of thing. Take my essay for an example. Not once in my essay did I actually say, I love completing puzzles. And I think I might have said, I love cooking, but never mind that. Reading your description of the activity and your experience with the activity or the thing that you love should show them that you love that thing more than actually saying, I love cooking or I love completing puzzles. And I think a way to really do that is to kind of describe certain things in a way where people who don't do that thing would not be able to describe it that way. I kind of talked about, my inner feelings and my inner emotions when I'm completing these puzzles. The satisfaction that I get from getting a piece in its like small spot, that for me is a feeling that I can resonate with. But I don't think that other people who don't like doing puzzles would understand that feeling fully. I really like the feeling, the stubbornness of the dough when I knead into it. People who don't bake wouldn't really know that feeling. And then the fourth tip I have on my list is to show character development. I think an attribute that a lot of colleges look for, their ability to grow and to make use of all the resources that the college has to offer. And a good indicator of that is to see in the past, were you able to grow? And then the next step I have on my list is totally my opinion. For me, I don't think people should write about academics. All the application readers are going to be able to get that from your stats and extracurriculars, which they have a whole section for that on your Common App. So I feel like the essay is the one place you can kind of show your personality off. When I read essays of people kind of bragging about like, oh, this nonprofit that they started, or this research that they did with this certain professor. Sure, this is a really good achievement, but in my opinion, this is not the place to talk about that stuff. I feel like it's really hard to show off your personality as well when you're writing about academic achievements. The next one might sound really simple, but I think it's also really crucial to be real and to not exaggerate a frick ton in your essay. When people try to present themselves as better than they are, cooler than they are, smarter than they are, I think a lot of application readers, along with the majority of the population, kind of knows when things are a little bit sus. If you write about like a soccer game that you had when you were 12 years old and you say that this one singular soccer game changed your life forever, it taught you kindness and taught you everything in your life that made you you, no one's going to believe that. In my opinion, it's better to be too modest than too show-offy. Showing off too much and kind of bragging too much rubs a lot of people the wrong way, especially people like me. My last tip that I have on here is to have a lot of people read your essay. This is a really common tip, but I think it's so crucial. I found throughout my whole essay writing, process that I valued my senior English teacher's opinion so much. When he gave me advice and his opinion on things to change in my essay, it just kind of clicked with me. That's also not me saying that you should trust everything that everyone around you says about your essays. Of course, it's essential to maintain the you-ness in an essay, but also I think when you read your essay over and over so many times, it's easy for you to overanalyze every single thing in your essay, and it's really good to have a fresh perspective, kind of read it and tell you their thoughts on it, because the application readers reading your essays, their process is going to resemble more like that English teacher who's reading it for the first time in like 5 minutes. Also, I think it's really important to have some of your friends read your essays, even though it might be really cringy. I dreaded having my friends read my essays because I thought it was so bad and I didn't want to hear their criticism on it. The reason I think you should have both your friend and a teacher read your essays is because their opinions meant very different things for me personally. When my English teacher told me their opinion, I took it in with an academic perspective. My English teacher gave me a lot of advice that was kind of like grammatical, word choice, and stuff like that. When my friends were giving me their opinions, even if I didn't agree with their opinion, I found it really valuable because it kind of solidified for me how I felt about my own essay. If they said they didn't like my essay, it kind of made me defend my essay more and see the parts of my essays that I liked more, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's the end of the video. There was my Common App essay and some tips that hopefully help you out. So comment down here below your thoughts on my Common App essay. I have no idea if it's good, bad, or whatever. I just want to hear your guys' opinions on it. Also, if you guys liked my essay, feel free to comment down below if you want me to try reading your essays and kind of giving you my 2 cents on it. You don't have to listen to my advice at all. They might be really shitty, but I have a lot of time on my hands because of this quarantine and I'm being tracked by the Korean government. So if you guys want me to share my pen supplemental essays in the next video, then also like this video, subscribe. I want to do a lot of college type of videos because I watched a lot of these when I was applying to colleges. And if you subscribe, I'll also post kind of random stuff that I just feel like posting. So comment, like, subscribe. You know what to do. Okay, bye guys.